ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷತೆಯ ಪದವಿಯನ್ನು ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಿದ ನಂತರ ನನಗೆ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ನಡ ಮೇಷ್ಟ್ರ ಹೇಳಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಏನೇ ಆದರೂ ಆಗಲಿ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಮಗ ಆಗಬೇಡ, ಕೊನೆಯ ಭಾಷಣ ಕೊಡಬೇಡ ಅಂತ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸ್ಗಳಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿರೋರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ತುಂಬಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷತೆಯ ಭಾಷಣ ಕೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ದಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಕ್ವೈಟ್ ಅನ್ಈಸಿ. ಬಟ್ ನಾನು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಹೇಳೋದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದವರು, ಅದು ಹಳೆ ಮೈಸೂರಿನವ್ರಿಗೆ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜಾಗ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಮಜ್ಜಿಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲದೇ ನಾವು ಊಟ ಇದು ಮುಗಿಸೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಮಜ್ಜಿಗೆ ಭಾಷಣ ನಿಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕೊಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಆರ್ ಆನರಬಲ್ Member of Parliament from Bangalore South, Shri Tejasvi Suryaji, Professor R.H. Tupkari ji, Shri Anurag Tripathi ji, Shri Sanjeev Gupta ji, all of the ladies and gentlemen present here today, and friends from the media. Already I think Shri Tejasvi Surya has given a great portrayal of what is Shri Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya's life and his times. As it always comes with the palace in Mysore and any representative from there, some part of interconnecting history always brings us together in whatever program there may be. And all of you know, obviously, the connection here is the act of one of my ancestors, Krishnadatta Wadiyar IV, commonly known as Nalodi Krishnadatta Wadiyar, being the first chancellor of the Beneras Hindu University, and also alongside that time giving the grants both from the government of Mysore of ₹1,00,000 and then personally as well an additional lakh for a course of 4-5 years during the setup of the university. And when I was speaking to Sanjeev, we were just remembering how the architecture of Maharaja's College, or that whole Krishnadatta Boulevard, is essentially an echo of what is in Beneras Hindu University as well, showing that link going there as well. So it is no doubt an age-old link, and something that we hold very close to us at the palace in Mysore, and hopefully all of you will too, and pass on to the generations who may come, so we may build on this joint legacy as we go forward. I just wanted to touch on few points with regards to Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviyaji. We all know he's from originally, or rather his ancestors were from Ujjain. And often as not, when we speak of many of the illustrious communities of India, we speak of course, there are several from the south. There are the Chitpavan Brahmins from Maharashtra, like Veer Savarkar and Bal Gangadhar Tilak. But often as not, the leaders from Ujjain are very much forgotten. They held huge clout prior to the British, and due to the fact that they were opposed to the British prior to 1857 and in 1857, the British didn't give them much prominence, instead pushing it to Ratlam and to Indore, who were of course helping the British at that time. So it so happened that many of the strong leaders, the strong community heads of the time moved out, and so was the case with Madan Mohan Malaviyaji's, and hence of course the Malwa region is where Ujjain is from, and that's where he gets his name from. So I think in terms of history, alongside remembering the legacy of Pandit Mohan Malaviya, it should also, to the broader legacy of the leaders of Ujjain and that history of Ujjain, I think really needs to be brought out alongside this, and requires due respect. And I thought perhaps this stage would have been a nice place to remember that going forward. Of course, we also know the Mahakaleshwar temple and the Jyotirlinga. They're one of the 12 Jyotirlingas of Shiva is in Ujjain, and this is of course of tremendous importance as well. So both of which require due respect, especially from those of us who are followers of Dharma. The other aspect I wanted to touch on was, and which is often as not, maybe not as much highlighted as much, is the fact of how Shri Madan Mohan Malaviyaji gave Mantra Diksha to all, irrespective of caste or irrespective of background. And we know countless temples where he initiated many into Mantra Diksha and allowed them to gain access to temples, which in some quarters was considered, just a sort of good look or a outside sort of, coat of paint, but in truth is, according to our culture, is a very big deal. And this instance of it is found in Mysore. So that, as you all may know, our Rajguru is the Parkar Mata in Mysore of the Paddhati of Sri Ramanujacharya. They originally were in Tirupati and then came down to Srirangpatna and then to Mysore alongside the many trials and tribulations my family had. They moved along with us. The 33rd pontiff of the same Parkar Mata took over in 1925, and in 1927 Pandit Mohan Malaviyaji came to Mysore. And he, alongside the palace secretary, the Maharaja Sanskrit College principal, the registrar of the University of Mysore, went to meet His Holiness in the Parkar Mata premises right next to Jagan Mohan Palace. And he asked him when, of course, they will have His Holiness's time in Kashi to receive his blessings. And alongside that, he made a strong case for why, within the state of Mysore as well, why not start allowing all backward classes and everybody else gain access to temples, especially within the Paddhati of, or the Sampradaya of Sri Ramanujacharya. And His Holiness iterated over times that in the teachings of Ramanujacharya, there is no such limitation, and everyone was welcome. And these were created by, of course, many other foreign means. And he invited them, in fact, because he had just taken up the seat just 2 years ago to have a huge sabbe. And in Sanskrit, of course, the sabbe is where a huge charcha is saying, after which he will take a decision after the outcome of the sabbe. So Pandit Mohan Malaviya leads the charge, of course, himself being a big Sanskrit scholar, and leads the charge in this sabbe and convinces the entire population or the luminaries of Mysore. And of course, then the Sanskrit Vidwans who were there in Mysore were, of course, not found anywhere else in the country. And they, of course, all come to the joint outcome that there is no necessary for these limitations to be there. And His Holiness, of course, takes the decision immediately thereafter and removes such a thing. So his mark is just not within Beneras Hindu University, but also within this Mysore realm of his grander movement towards bringing Dharma back to what it was in our, towards our core civilizational values of inclusivity for all. And I think that is something that needs to be touched on going forward, especially when you talk of such luminaries such as Pandit Mohan Malaviya's life and his times and his legacy. I once again thank you all for inviting me here. I also have to apologize for being late today. I had a prior commitment which I was serving as the president for the committee for the celebrations of 50-year celebrations of another school, and had to finish up there. So I finished up I opened that program, and now I have the honor of closing this program. So I'm indeed grateful for you all for accommodating me. Again, I hope to be a part of all of your endeavors towards remembering Sri Madan Mohan Malaviya's legacy, and jointly I hope we honor this joint legacy that we have, this joint heritage that we have, and take it forward. And of course, with the Beneras Hindu University, on a small little side note, when someone had gone there who was known to me, was remembering that only there is a small picture of Yaduveer Krishnadatta Wadiyar in the library and nobody knew who he was. So when alumni go back there, I would request you to please let me know more information as to how I can sort of recalibrate, or rather get that information back towards Beneras Hindu University, because we have the relevant details at the palace. I'd love to engage you with that towards remembering that part of history with the Beneras Hindu University. We also have 2 ghats, so the Mysore ghats there, which are now, I think, in the possession of our government of Karnataka. So that too, that tradition is still going on. It's remembered as the Mysore Ghat. So the many connections to Kashi that Mysore has alongside this, all of which we will dutifully look forward and pass on to the next generation. Once again, I thank you all for having me here. My best wishes to you all, and a very happy new year to all of you.